From the headquarters of Telesur English in Caracas, Venezuela, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is in China to discuss political and economic cooperation. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi reported that Maduro was invited by President Xi Jinping. The two will meet to hold a signing ceremony. Maduro will be in China until Sunday. Let's hear more on the visit from our correspondent in Beijing, Isaura Diaz.
Just moments ago, President Nicolás Maduro landed in China for a 3-day visit. There, he will be meeting with President Xi Jinping in the Great Palace of the People, the government's headquarters. President Maduro will pay his respect in front of the monument of the People's Heroes located at the Tiananmen Square, which is China's political core. He will also visit the mausoleum of Mao Zedong, China's historic leader. Maduro will hold talks with the representatives from different Chinese institutions and companies. Venezuela's head of state was received by China's vice-chancellor. President Maduro arrives in China after the successful visit of Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to the country. She stated that China and Venezuela are two economies with similar development strategies which defend multilateralism and create new markets. Rodriguez also said that both countries look forward to increased bilateral cooperation. China and Venezuela are expected to sign agreements, especially after the creation of the Mixed Cooperation Commission between both countries. That's all we can tell you for now. We'll keep you posted.
Isaura Diaz from China. The United Nations Human Rights Council met for a special session on how to put an end to acts of genocide. Eduardo Marín has more from Geneva.
During the fourth day of the 39th session of the Human Rights Council of the UN, two topics were highlighted: the fight against genocide and the struggle for civil rights. In regards to genocide, the attendance commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Convention for Prevention and Sanction of these kinds of crimes. The countries stated that despite the creation of this convention 70 years ago, these crimes keep being committed. They mentioned the case of Rwanda in the 90s, also the case that took place in Bosnia, and also considered the Rohingyas crisis as a case of genocide. The Cuban representative also denounced the U.S. genocidal practices, happening for almost 60 years, in regards to the blockade applied by the North Americans against the island. One of the members, Fabian Salvioli, asked the Council if they are the right people, at the right time, and at the right place to fight against genocide in the world.
Eduardo Marín from Switzerland. Now to the West Bank in the occupied Palestinian territories, where a village has been demolished. Khan al-Amar is home to around 180 Palestinians. During a pre-dawn operation, Israeli troops removed temporary structures. Most of them were caravans belonging to activists campaigning against the demolition. The Israeli Supreme Court had lifted a temporary injunction blocking the demolition of what it considers illegal structures. Many families turned down an offer to relocate to Jericho. The United States' decision to close down the office of the Palestine Liberation Organization has met international criticism. Our correspondent in Cairo, Nayara Tardo, has more on the reaction of Palestinian officials.
Sí, efectivamente, compañeros.
Various Palestinian leaders have ensured that punitive measures will follow the decision, such as the suspension of cooperation over security issues with the United States. Committee member of the aforementioned Palestinian organization, Hanan Ashrawi, will take Washington in front of the International Court of Justice in The Hague for recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. This recognition has violated laws and international resolutions on the issue. Ashrawi also called out Washington for halting donations to the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Middle East. She claims this measure has deprived millions of Palestinians of their right to education, health, and work. UNRWA serves more than 5 million Palestine refugees in Libya, Syria, occupied Jordan, and in the Gaza Strip. Officials consider that these measures violate the right to return of Palestinian people.
Nayara Tardo from Egypt. After a dispute lasting years, the Spanish parliament has voted in favor of moving the remains of the dictator Francisco Franco. Since his death in 1975, Franco's body has lain in a mausoleum with a giant cross in the Valley of the Fallen near Madrid. The right-wing People's Party and the Citizens' Party both opposed the move, but the parties of the left, as well as Basque and Catalan nationalists, all voted in favor.
The Valley de los Caídos must be a memorial dedicated to peace and reconciliation for the victims of the Civil War on both sides. It is a monument where everyone must be able to recognize themselves. This can't be a dictator's grave.
Thousands gathered in Omonoye Square to protest the Greek government's austerity laws. The measures are part of its debt crisis response. The All Workers Militant Front led the march. The union strongly criticizes the move to increase taxes. Protesters also lashed out at the European Union and NATO.
Government's implementation of this unpopular policy is fully supported by the business groups in Greece, the European Union and the American NATO side.
Thousands of workers in West Africa's Benin are protesting against the government's move to limit the right to strike. In September, the parliament passed a bill to limit the amount of days that workers can strike to 10 days a year. Members of trade unions have strongly denounced the new law.
It is democracy. It is the safeguarding of freedoms. It is the safeguarding of our achievements as workers, as young people, as women, as craftsmen, as Democrats in general. Our claims cannot be thrown away, cannot be neglected by the government, and we will not be silent.
A state funeral has been held in Ghana for Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations. Dozens of African leaders and international officials were among the 6,000 mourners who attended the ceremony. The current UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, delivered a funeral address. Annan died in Switzerland on August 18 and won the Nobel Prize in 2001. Coming up, more stories. We'll be back after this video.
with developing events being presented through analysis. Our coverage transcends borders. with renowned journalist Walter Martinez.
Salud amigos, tripulantes de nuestra querida, contaminada y única nave espacial.
Dossier. Weekdays. Only on Telesur.
Y ponga usted las cámaras, señor director.
Welcome back. Protests took place in Ecuador's capital, Quito, against President Lenin Moreno's economic policies.
Around 3,000 demonstrators marched in Quito to protest against the government of Lenin Moreno. Social movements, fishermen and various activists expressed their frustration at the austerity policies of the government.
What brings us here is the duty to defend the homeland. It brings us here to say no to treason, to say stop tearing the country apart, stop destroying the country institution, stop handing over the resources to foreign companies.
They have to explain what they did. If they made any deal with Chevron, as they seem to have done with Odebrecht, it is not only treason to the revolution and to the people, but to the country.
Earlier, dozens of supporters of former Vice President Jorge Glass gathered outside Jail 4, where he is imprisoned. They came to wish him well on his 49th birthday and reassert their support for him.
I'm disgusted at our judiciary because our justice system is blind. They have violated our rights and our leaders are being chased right now. We can't fight against the power of Lenin Moreno. That is why we are demonstrating today.
This protest is the latest in a series of mobilizations against Lenin Moreno's policies in Ecuador. In just the last couple of months, his government has increased the price of gasoline and closed more than 20 state institutions. His anti-immigrant stand on Venezuelan migrants has also been condemned. More and more people feel uncertain about their future.
A protest has taken place in Lima against corruption in Peru. Our correspondent Jaime Herrera has more on this story.
A massive demonstration happened last night, which went straight to the front pages of the press. Newspapers showed the huge amount of people that attended. Their banners and messages have been trending on social media, with hashtags like Chavarri out, referring to the public prosecutor, Pedro Chavarri. Also, the slogan, "Everyone should leave," made reference to corrupt authorities who should be prosecuted, judged, and jailed if necessary. During the protests, also the chant, "Close the Congress," could be heard. People were expecting public authorities to react, but there has been nothing so far. Pedro Chavarri is still in his position despite the corruption case against him, and despite people calling for his resignation. Former Supreme Judge Cesar Inostroza has also immunity and is free without trial. Congress hasn't mentioned these cases or the corruption cases that involves other members of Congress. On the contrary, it has presented a new law to nominate judges. Demonstrations are set to continue.
Peruvians say enough is enough. Even though there is damning evidence against some of the country's highest-ranking judges, some still remain free. Others even continue to work, such as Attorney General Pedro Chavarri. There have been calls for him to step down.
He cannot be a judge and party of the very judicial process. He raises questions about the autonomy of the public ministry by establishing links with the APRA and with Fujimorismo. He has also lied several times.
According to demonstrators, the political system is also fraught with corruption. They are calling on President Vizcarra to shut down Congress.
Because we have seen that the Congress is a mafia. They protect sentenced people.
Too much protection for the corrupt. They are spending taxpayers' hard-earned money, especially all Fujimoristas.
What good are they doing? Laws? Most of them respond to Mr. K. So what laws are going to benefit the poor?
Social organizations, unions, students, and progressive political organizations join protesters in solidarity. They believe only a constituent assembly can put an end to corruption.
It can't be that here Odebrecht and transnational rule and not the government.
Let's close the Congress and start afresh, a new country. They have sold everything to transnationals. It's a shame that we don't have stable jobs. There's no respect for the workers.
Today's demonstration was not limited to the capital. Protesters chanted, "All corrupts go away," as they took their march to other provinces.
Tens of thousands of Argentinian teachers and students walked out of classes on Thursday in Buenos Aires to protest against the government's education policies. They are demanding more funding for public education amid a crippling austerity plan. Teachers are also asking for an increase in pay to offset rising inflation. President Mauricio Macri has offered to boost pay by 15%, but teachers have rejected the move.
We are talking about teachers receiving the same wage as in December 2017. But today, the inflation has reached practically to 50%. Our salary hasn't changed at all.
A teacher in Argentina was kidnapped and tortured because she organized soup kitchens in the city of Moreno in the province of Buenos Aires. Corina de Boris had been receiving death threats since last week for her social work. On Wednesday afternoon, she was kidnapped by unknown people. A bag was placed over her head and the words "No soup kitchens" were carved on her stomach. She had previously protested for better conditions in public schools. The teachers' union has strongly condemned this attack.
At 5 p.m., as she was walking out of school, a car with 3 people inside kidnapped her colleague, Corina de Boris. 2 men attacked her on the sidewalk, hitting her various times and forcing her inside the car. They put a bag over her head and exposed her stomach. Using a sharp instrument, they carved the words "No soup kitchens" on her flesh. But even more serious than this, after torturing her, they warned her that the next time she worked in a soup kitchen, it would be at the local cemetery.
In Brazil, the presidential candidate for the Workers' Party, Fernando Haddad, has reiterated his commitment to the government program approved by the former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. With only 2 days of campaigning behind him, Haddad appears in second place in the latest polls by Ibope and Datafolha, while the pollster Vox Populi puts him as the favorite. This comes after Lula's public endorsement of Haddad as his substitute.
It has been traumatic, and we have to work on this politically. No one wanted this situation, but between giving up the project and repositioning in this way, we have decided, and Lula has decided to reposition ourselves in the race. As Lula said, we have a project, an idea. There is no point in stopping it, because someone will always follow the legacy, and the people will support it.
Meanwhile, right-wing candidate Jair Bolsonaro remains hospitalized as other candidates continue on the campaign trail. A statement of the Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo says Bolsonaro has been moved to intensive care after his latest emergency operation. Costa Rica is into its 4th day of national strike. Demonstrations continue on the streets as citizens demand a public consultation on the new economic measures. On Wednesday, police broke into the National University, arresting and beating protesting students. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us.
acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The President of Bolivia, Evo Morales, inaugurated the headquarters of the Parliament of the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR, in the municipality of San Benito in Cochabamba. According to the President, the space will serve to carry out international events that allow to promote the relations between the countries of the region. Morales referred to the building as the Big House of South America. The structure is also expected to be used to host Congresses, social organization meetings, and other activities. Morales also said that this was made possible thanks to the unity of the Bolivian people and their support for improving the country's economic situation.
These type of buildings are famous around the world. It stands out. Before, we would have to ask for donations or money from abroad to build these things. Parla Sur is the center of integration. It's the symbol of the liberation struggle of the people of Latin America.
On October 1st, the International Court of Justice will rule on the Bolivia-Chile border dispute. Bolivia brought the case to the ICJ in 2013 in an attempt to gain sovereign access to the waters that it lost in the 1879 Chilean invasion. President Morales said he looks forward to a resolution and believes it will be a new start for both Bolivia and Chile.
October 1st will be the start of a new history for Bolivia and Chile. We will forge new diplomatic relations. Accords will be fulfilled and we will begin to solve our pending issues. We are neighbors with Chile. We are brothers, and those bonds last forever.
The government of Antigua and Barbuda has said that its exclusion from the visa renewal waiver with the United States is based on its support for Venezuela. The cabinet held a discussion on Wednesday on the decision by the United States government to exclude citizens from Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Vincent, 3 of 6 countries from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, from an announced waiver. It eliminates the need for citizens to pay in-person visits to the Barbados Embassy in order to renew tourist visas. The state of emergency in Dominica, which was called as Hurricane Isaac approached the region, was lifted at 9 p.m. tonight. Public officials should return to work tomorrow as usual. Students, however, still get to stay home.
Thank all the residents and citizens and the thousands of people out in Dominica who interceded on our behalf for this storm. The fact is, for several days, this storm was coming straight to Dominica. It wasn't moving down, it was moving up, and one can only thank the Lord for sparing us.
Florence is expected to bring a life-threatening storm surge to portions of North and South Carolina beginning Thursday evening. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says heavy rain and flooding are already spreading. Winds are topping 105 miles per hour. Florence is expected to hover over the Carolinas, dumping relentless rain at least through Saturday. And with that, we come to the end of this news brief. But this and many other stories you can find on our website at telesurtv.net/English. Here you can find all our latest information, our videos, our opinion articles, topics on Latin America, and pictures as well. Be sure to check it out. And you can also join us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.